Okay, so I'll tell you the new topic over here. So what we did, I'll just tell you in the workflows also. In not only that the workflow console, there is something which is supposed to be the automation part in the workflows. So what exactly in the automation? Whatever the things we are doing in our life cycle management in the workflow, so we have to manage through this only this in the dashboard side of that Okta. So whether anything we just wanted to create some automation in life cycle management side of an employee of anything, so we can do some activity in the automation side. Like we need to create some automation according to our feasibility and according to the particularly time frame this automation is supposed to be happen. Okay, according this automation is supposed to be happen, the activity is automatically triggered. Okay, so how we are supposed to do that activity, the automation on the life cycle management of any user and on his profile, so we can create some kind of automation. So we can click on the add automation. We can name it whatever the automation we required. Okay, like your test automation. We can save it, rename it, and we can save it. Okay, so this is our automation name, test automation. Now we are creating a new automation. So new automation means according to any condition, at what condition is supposed to be there, on that basis, automation, particularly an automated things are going to be happen in lifecycle management of a user profile. So we can create such kind of activity in the Okta itself. So we name it our automation. This is our test automation. Now there is a something we call it when the following condition are all true. So there are some of the true conditions. Some of the conditions are like select the schedule when it is supposed to be happen, what type of a group, what type of the membership it is supposed to be there. So we can apply this automation on that the particularly group membership. Like now we are going to create some condition and on which condition this automation is going to perform. So we can add a condition, click over the add condition. We can select what type of condition. We can select this either the user inactivity in the Okta or like user password expiration in Okta. So user password expiration is Okta or user inactivity in Okta. So in that area we can use select any of that two types of condition. It means that if these conditions are supposed to be met, then on the basis of that thing the automation is triggered. Okay, like if a user password expiration is Okta, we want that if, if any person password has to be expired in the Okta, so this type of condition is if it is going to be triggered, so what type of automation is supposed to be happen? Okay, let's suppose we can choose this user
So
password
this
expiration
automation
is Okta.
is going to work within these two conditions only.
Yes, yes. This is
Start
basically
message.
this is basically whether only two condition is just supposed to be over here on the creation of that area. Okay, not much more because this is a trial version, so that's why it is only the two condition. If we having a partner with the Okta, so there are lots of conditions are be there. Totally like any new user is onboarding, his activation process is supposed to be there. Any mail notification
But
has to be
Karan, the
generated.
same thing can be done via workflows as well, right?
Yes, this kind of activity we can supposed to do that thing in the workflow side. In the workflow, the same thing, the password expiration, the user inactivity in Okta, we can do that activity also in the workflow side. Because previously what happened, like in the trial or something, not only that the workflow console gives, actually the workflow console, it is used for majorly basis the purpose of that workflow console to make it out some major automation part supposed to be happen like streaming listing out and generally that the application assignment user onboarding side of activity. So that is something which we are complicated type of activity we can make it with the help of workflows. Okay, like we required some schedulers according to a particularly time frame, or we required such kind of activity where API activity is supposed to be happen. So like complexity or complex one of the workflows, we can make it out with that the workflow console. And the other activity which is supposed to be very limited in the purpose of lifecycle management. So we can do this activity with this automation tab in the Okta. Okay. So like if the user password expiration is Okta, if the condition it is supposed to be there. So when password is expired in, if the user password is expiring within like 7 days, okay, or like 3 days. So what is supposed to be happen? Okay, we created that thing user password sorry, password expiration is Okta within 3 days. If a user password expire in a 3 days, so what type of action is supposed to be happen, and which type of groups we are supposed to select? Okay, like what group membership we are supposed to be there, like everyone group if we are having, we can apply a group. Okay, and at what time we are required. So over here we can edit that thing. It is run daily basis or it is run once. So password expiration within 3 days. So we can run it on a daily basis on this time frame, 9:45 or like 9 a.m. 9 a.m. in the morning. So every 9 a.m. in the morning, this condition is supposed to be triggered. Accordingly, it will check whatever the user's password is going to be expired in next 3 days. So what type of action we wanted to over here? We want an action on the basis of things like change user lifecycle stage. Stage means if the password is going to be expired within 3 days, so his life cycle of the user is supposed to be changed. So what the change has to be supposed to be there? Its ID is supposed to be suspended for that while. Okay, we'll make it save. Now we created automation, test automation. We applied the condition. We applied the action if the condition is supposed to be met. Okay. Now after doing that activity, this action will not be performed until the automation is active. So what we have to do, we can make it this automation activate. If we are not supposed to make it active, this automation or this kind of workflow of the automation of lifecycle management is not going to be happen, or it is not going to be working manner. So if we are supposed to make it in a working manner, then we have to supposed to make it active. So once we do this active, now this automation is completely in the in our Okta profile. It is completely in this Okta tenant. Whenever this kind of activity is supposed to be triggered, if the user's password expiration within 3 days, if he is not supposed to do that activity to change his password or reset his password, so his ID is supposed to be suspended. Okay. Then again, the as an Okta administrator will do, he will recheck all the activity in the logs, what is going to be the user profile. If he found that thing, the automation is applied on his profile, then he check with the user why you are not supposed to reset your password if you already receive a notification from the Okta or such kind of activity. So if he request him or doing that type of things, then he is supposed to, as an Okta administrator, he make his profile from suspended to activated state or enable state, or either he just supposed to reset his password or unblock his ID. So that type of activity we are supposed to do in this automation wizard. Okay, not only actually this is a trial version, so only that three types of things we can see over here, not too much. Now the second is user inactivity in Okta. If user inactivity in Okta, like three days. If I am saying I am having a user profile, okay. If I am having a user profile and I am not doing any type of activity in the Okta, last couple of 3 days, okay. So 3 days is quite a short duration of time because usually users are on leave or holiday. So 3 days is quite long. If they are not active in last 15 days, so that is a 2 weeks time. Okay, if they are not active in last 15 days, okay, we can schedule it. It will perform daily. That is also fine. Because why daily? Because that activity or that automation works every in the morning. Okay, okay, we can and we can apply it just to the all group. Right now, I have only one group, which is everyone group. Okay. Now, what type of action is supposed to happen? We can change the lifecycle management of this particular user. His account is supposed to be deactivated. Okay. So, what this automation will do? This test to automation, it will work like if the user inactivity in Okta lasts 15 days. If the user is not doing any activity, like he is not going to log in his, log in his account in Okta, or he's not supposed to do any kind of activity in Okta in 15 days. If he is not going to do this activity, so his account is supposed to be becoming a deactivated state. Okay, now let's make it active. Now is also this is also like in the working manner. This automation. Okay, so this is also in the activity state. So both the automation, one is for like inactivity or one is for the password expiration. So these two automation right now we are having, it will trigger like I am having like 7 to 6 users right now in my profile. So right now I'm not going to check each and every user in in coming 3 weeks, 3 days or like in 15 days something. So might be it will affect on the list of the user which I'm having. Right. Only I'm using the administrator one. So this is not supposed to be going to in a suspended or deactivation area. And rest of the users which I am having, these users, they are might be supposed to be in the suspended state or either in the deactivated state in the coming days. Okay. So this thing in the wizard of that the Okta in the automation in the workflow side, this is the only thing. And okay, in the automation part. Inline hook and event hook. Like, hope you understand that the inline hook and event hook. I had shared you one document. Have you cross-checked that part? So if it is fine, I'll let you know. Either I'll just open on my end. Now, what is exactly the hooks? Hooks are basically the anchors. Okay, it anchors means it will trigger whenever we wanted and uh, according to the administrator or according to the developer as a Okta, we want an anchor, we want a hook, we want a hook on a particularly area. When is supposed to be there, the next activity or next thing has to be triggered. Like uh, if anyone entered in the room, okay, if an example, if anybody entered in the room, he his mobile is supposed to be switched off. Okay, so we can make an anchor on that area. We can make an hook on that area, particularly hook on the area. Like on which area? Like mobile is supposed to be switched off or either in a silent mode. If anybody entered in a HR. Okay. So in that scenario, what is supposed to be there? There is a hook. Okay. The hook means a particularly triggering area. Triggering area only that we are not supposed to be any issue with the person who is entering in the HR room. We are not having an issue if anybody is already in the HR room. We are not supposed to be an issue if user is carrying a document or file or something with her or his in the HR room. Okay. Only we have an issue if the user is going to be entered in the HR room, his mobile is supposed to be either in a switch off mode or either in a silent. Okay, so we are supposed to make a hook on a mobile. So we are taking a keyword mobile. Mobile is the main target. Mobile is a triggering point. So that type of things we are supposed to be see in Okta whenever and particularly thing we wanted to make a trigger. So we creating that type of hook. So hook are supposed to be like either the inline hook or either the event hooks. Inline hooks are those hooks if we are in the development side, so we are writing a codes. Okay. So in the particularly writing code, we are select a particularly line and where we wanted to make a hook and there we wanted to make a trigger. Okay. So when this line, when this thing, when this scenarios comes over there, particularly that hook is supposed to be triggered. Okay. Similarly, case in the event hook. Event hook means whenever this event is supposed to be happen, the hook or the triggering of the automation is supposed to be happen. Okay. Like example on that area, basically the event hook are generally used by that developer area, majorly on the API part. Like in the registration SAML token, okay. So the adding the inline hook on which area, either on the SAML part, either the token part, password import part, allowing importing of password from user login or telephony, allowing provider selection from SMS or the voice. Okay. Or either allow modify the account of the user trying to register. Okay, that is the registration part. What type of the thing? As I told you, this is majorly on that area of the developer side. So the we will have to suppose to make a name of our inline hook and the URL of our any application or such. It will work on the FTTP platform. So on that area we required authentication field and the secret of that area. Okay, I tell you with a different example, not from here. Okay. Similarly, in the case of the event hook, what exactly in that thing? Again, the same thing. We require the name, URL, authentication field, and authenticating secret. So basically, these hooks are supposed to be work on the API endpoint where we have an any application. We wanted to make it triggered on that the particularly application. On that area, these kind of hooks are supposed to be happen. I'll show you not on the Okta side, some of the coding side. I have one thing. I'll show you on that area after some time. Now the key management part. Key management part is supposed to be whether we are supposed to create a new type of key. Like as I told you, we have the two types of key. Access token or some kind of refresh token is supposed to be there. We wanted to make a private key for ourselves. Like if we wanted a particularly application, a user is supposed to be authenticate with any type of private key. We wanted to make a private key. Okay. So over there, the key management comes over here. Okta gives us thing. So we can create our own key about that area. Okay. So we can do this activity like this way. We can create the test key. Okay. Whether we are creating a key, not it is not supposed to be issued right now. Okay. So this is like renaming, delete, or copy public. So this is only that the key. If we wanted a particularly application or in the API side, a particularly user wanted to interact with a particularly application, but he wanted that this type of key is only that becoming a only becoming a private key. Through that way a user is going to be authenticated to the particularly application or wanted to access to the particularly application. So through that way we can use that type of key. We can give like this way. This type of code is supposed to be the RSA token. It is supposed to be there, and rest of the activity inside the key is there. Okay, it is in the JSON format. This is a completely the JSON format. Okay, so we can copy that key and give it to the particularly area to use it the private key and authenticate or do the assignment part of the particularly application site. So it is just only to creating a key site in the Okta dashboard. Now in the security area, as I know, as I already told you about that part, there are some settings. There are some type of securities which we are having. Okay. Now we are in the general tab. In the general tab, what we have seen security notification emails. Security notification emails basically means if any type of any security is going to be triggered. So if these mails are supposed to be enabled or disabled on that time. Okay, like new signing on notification email. Right now it is disabled. New signing on notification email means if a new user is supposed to be signing in Okta, so he is supposed to be get an email. So through that way we can notify a particularly user, okay, that you are signing in a particularly Okta area with your credentials or the username is this and your URL is this. So we wanted to notify that. So it's all up to us. Either we wanted to enable or disable that. That's simple. Password change notification email. Like you wanted to change your password. Okay, like whether you are resetting your password. So that mail is supposed to be going to your inbox or not. Okay. So as an administrator, we make it enable. Authenticator enrollment notification via the email. Like the Okta Verify is a authenticator. Okay, like similarly, some other area of the authentications are be there. Okay, in the Okta, I'll show you also. So we wanted that you are enrolling in the Okta Verify, you are enrolling in the DO security, you are enrolling in the RSA token something. So the user wanted to notify that area. So according to the administrator, yes, we want to enable. Similarly, authenticator reset notification. If you wanted to reset your authenticator, so you wanted to notify that area or not, to make it enable. So these all are disabled by default. You make it according to your feasibility, according to the client requirement. You are supposed to enable or disable. Similarly, like report suspicious activity by the email. If you have any user profile is supposed to be anything in a suspicious site, so how the administrator will notify that area? Like user is not able to sign in his account, his MFA is not supposed to be work, the assignment to the particularly application is not going to be happen. So how the administrator will notify? So through that notification by the mail, it's supposed to be notify any type of the report. Okay, same. Okay. So basically these are the general things in that thing, and the captcha integration is supposed to be here. It is not majorly it is supposed to be required. Okay, like any captcha notification you required or not. So it's all up to you what type of things you need to enter and all that. Captcha is not exactly required in the Okta because we have lots of authenticators. Now some of the organization security. These are the general security which is applied on that user profile basically. Okay, security notification by the emails. Okay, and some are all the organizational security. Organization security means IP binding for admin console. IP binding means IP addresses. So it is supposed to be binding for the admin console if you required to make it enable. Remember user or sign in. If you wanted to make remembering the user sign in, what his user ID and all, so we already make it enable. Stay sign in means like how long the user is stay in his profile or something is supposed to be enabled. So these are the all we can see over here. Either we wanted to make a change, we can click on the edit part and we can change according to our feasibility and the requirement. Like activation email by the valid for. If a user entered in the Okta profile, his account is supposed to be created. Now what he is supposed to do? He wanted to make his account activate. So if the user this mail or his activation valid for 7 days. If he is not be doing the activation of his account within 7 days, his account is going to be deactivated or suspended. So we change it accordingly, like 7 days, 30 days, 90 days, 4 hours, 1 hour. So it's all up to you how long we wanted to make it activated. Enforce device binding for creation sanction. Enable for all IDPs, or either not enabled, enabled for Okta only, or either for IDP. It is basically like, as I told you, we are working in a organization or we are working in a tenant. So only that user profile is not supposed to be the only object. There are lots of other objects. We have devices, we have share file, we have OneDrive, okay, we have SharePoint, we have Teams. There are lots of things are there, okay, in the environment. So we wanted that all our devices, okay, are supposed to be enforced in a particularly session. So that's why we make it in the enable for all IDPs. Whenever, whatever the locations that the user's device is supposed to be enrolled in a particularly domain, so he is enabled for the particularly area. Username matches criteria to sign in. So like username matches criteria on sign in means whatever the user ID in Active Directory or any of the external environment. So his ID or his username is supposed to be matched. Okay, match means like like right now I have it support at the rate something. This is my email address. Okay, support at the rate onenesscloud.com. Okay, so it is supposed to be matched. Okay, allow short match means if we find that support, if we write it down only support, so automatically he will find that support at the rate onenesscloud.com. If we write it down at the rate 1, so he will easily understand that thing. This is the only area or it is only that the domain or email address he is searching for. So that's why just make it allow short match, or either we want it a complete match or entire match, or we require a short match. Like my name is Karan. If anybody enter KA, so he that automatically understand that thing he is looking for the Karan. Okay. So this is that. Let's make it safe also. Protect against password-based attacks. Okay, so what exactly it means? Like anything require position factor before password during MFA. If anybody anything is requiring factor before MFA, so we wanted that enabling this feature requires user to verify their identity with a position factor before any knowledge factor like password, security question, or okay. Block suspicious password attempt from the unknown device. So it is going to blocking the suspicious password with anybody or unknown thing or unknown area supposed to be looking ahead. So according to our feasibility, we make it yes or either disable or enable. Okay. Let's make it default. Generally, things are over here are generally in the default. Okta threat inside settings. Threat inside settings means threat inside settings is if anything in a critical state, risk side or anything, so how we could identify in the Okta. Okay, so this is supposed to be over here. Like we can find an action if anybody logs authentication attempt from malicious IP. Okay, so an action has supposed to be marked on the or either exempt zone. Exempt zone means any of the network zones in our area. Not in area, in the Okta itself, where we are supposed to configure it. So these are the things are be in the security side on the general side, notification side, suspicious activity side, organizational security side. So whatever the things as client requirement is supposed to be there on the security side, so we need to make it enable, disable or modify those. Okay. So this is generally in the General side.
So the general settings which you did, is it limited to my account only, or it can be for all of the accounts
All of the
which
account, all of
we
the account, all of the account.
okay.
Right now we are working as an administrator. Okay. So according to the administrator side, whatever he wanted to make a change over here, it will affect to the rest of the users. Okay. And it will apply to the all of the users in the organization who belongs or who is going to sign in of the Okta. Okay. It's not only the particularly user. Okay. If you are working under the administrator, if you are only having the read only options, then you are not supposed to do this activity. Okay. So these all activity are disabled from your. Okay. But if you are working as an administrator, so you are only supposed to do any changes like edit part. Okay. So you are only that the person who can apply those changes to the entire organization in the office. Okay. So that's why I'm saying according to the client requirement and client suggestion, these security things are supposed to be checked and verified on that area. If you want it in the security notification mail, are not supposed to be coming to the user inbox or any of is supposed to be notified about that area so we can make a decision.
Okay, but what if like for example, if we are handling more than one application and their requirements are different. Like for example, if one of the application requires capture integration and one of the applications do not require that, even it is not even recommended. Okay,
Sorry,
so
sorry,
in
sorry.
that
What
case,
your
like
question? What your question? If one application,
if there are two applications, one
okay.
of the application is looking for capture integration, okay, and one of the application is not looking. So in that case, how we will going to do that thing? Since like it is the
No, no.
general one only.
Okay, okay. So generally the thing it is to be there, like for the CAPTCHA integration side, it is only supposed to be like I'll show you the document. It is only on the Okta side. It is not only that the application area. We are supposed to be do this activity only in the in the area of our this Okta side only. We are making security things in the Okta itself, not from the application scenario side. For application side, we have that the other things like sign-in on policies are be there. If a user is signing on the particularly application, okay, and applications policies is supposed to be there. So the application area is supposed to be the service provider end. Now we are only focusing on the identity provider end. Okay, so only we can understand on the application side area. Okay, like over here, it is already been mentioned, like sign in on vendor of your choice or the sign in of our account and then the following the instruction, either H captcha or reCAPTCHA V2 we can use it. Okay, so it's supposed to be like any of the integration we are supposed to be there. We can make it our site or we can create our secret key on that area. So on that area, we are supposed to do this captcha types of activity, captcha services. Okay, like as you see, like in Google, Yahoo, the captcha is supposed to be there. Okay, this is applied. Okay, so the captcha integration, if the application we are supposed to require the captchas, then we are supposed to do this activity for the particularly application, and this is supposed to be uh, work under that the Okta security side, not the application security side. Okay, like for one application we wanted to integrate the captcha. Another application we don't want to integrate the captcha. In the first application, if we integrated the captcha, so that is only from the Okta side security is supposed to be there, not the application side security. Got
Okay,
my
if
point?
we enable that thing, it will be enabled like for like once the user logs in into the app.
Yes, yes, yes. It is only will enable on that the Okta side, and it will only will work on the Okta itself, not the application side.
Okay.
Okay, so that is like. If an example, if I'm you like if we are entering our password, sometimes we forget our password. We are trying too many passwords. So then the application is saying to enter the captcha, reCAPTCHA or captcha inside the box. Okay, and
Right.
if you see any type of application like Indian Railway, so in the Indian Railway you are entering your username, password, and the captcha also. Okay, so that captcha is supposed to be authenticating by some other application. Okay, where your credentials are supposed to be stored. Okay, so that captcha is only integrated on the particularly application, but it is not validating from the application side. It is validating from the other authenticating source where your credentials are supposed to be stored. Or generally, this captcha is a third party type of authentication, not the application side. Okay, so that's why if you do some coding work or web development side, now you will easily understand that part. That CAPTCHA is supposed to be a JavaScripting language or a link where we just to authenticate or to validate the user entered the correct thing or not, and it is automatically changing itself. It is like a infinite, you can say infinite verification codes. Now the health insight part. Health insight part, I already told you in that first class, like if I'm demonstrating you the Okta dashboard. So as I told you, like in the health insight, we can identify or we can work on our security area in our Okta itself. What type of our Okta tenant health it is supposed to be. What organization health in the Okta we are having. Okay, so it will show you what type of things are in the critical side, what type of things are in a moderate side or low side. So we can find it out in the health insight part. So as an Okta administrator, we are supposed to do that activity to make it a score very high, and we are supposed to work on the critical task over here and to minimize this thing in the incomplete task or such thing to increase our this score part, the graph part, the percentage part. Okay. So over here, what is the critical part? Like Okta admin console authentication requirement is weak. So it is saying that authentication requirement is weak. So what we are supposed to do? We to do an action, go to the authentication policies to make it strong. More than 75% of the admin have the super admin privilege. So it's saying that 75% of the admins having super admin privilege. So what we have supposed to do? We go to the admin list and make that change. Threat Insight is not enabled to block suspicious IP. So it is not enabled right now. So what we have to do, we have to go to the security part and make it enabled. If any suspicious IP is supposed to be there, so this is supposed to be blocked or find and make it enabled. Block suspicious activity over here.
What is this first one, like of admin console?
Yeah, I'll check it.
I
I'll check it.
I am also getting that.
I did some activity over here. I did some. Okta admin console authentication required is weak. Authentication requirement is weak. So these are the authentication requirements, which is comes under the security tab here also. So authentication requirement weak means, so there is two-factor authentication it is supposed to be there, and three application it is to be there, and there is one application specific policy is applied on the Okta admin console. So we can change over here. So these all the things comes under the security part. I'll show you how the things are be there. Once we are supposed to go each and every step in the security tab. Okay. So the health inside I told you like any type of security which are supposed to be critical or something, we can work on those area to make our score and the percentage higher side in the health inside area. Okay. Now the authenticators part comes. So as you know, what type of authenticators are we there, how we add that authenticator, how we enroll those authenticators. So authenticators are basically the things through which we are supposed to authenticate ourselves on a second layer of authentication, or whether any second layer of security we wanted to make it in our sign-in on. So we use such kind of authenticators are we there. Okay. So over here, these are some setup area, how we set up our authenticators. What are all those authenticators are we there? We have email authenticator, we have Okta Verify authenticator, we have password authenticator. Generally, email is basically possessions, okay, and it is used for recovery based. If your password is you forget your password, you are not able to remember your password, such kind of things, you can make a uh, you can recover your password with the help of this kind of authenticator. Like a mail notification goes to your email with a tentative password, so you can easily recover your password. So the email authenticator work like that. Now the password one authenticator is for the knowledge base. Okay, whether you are entering your username, so there is supposed to be required a password. So password is required for making you authenticate. So this kind of authenticator. And the third one is the Okta Verify. Okta Verify authenticator is used for three types of things. It will use of device bound. It is to authenticate yourself. Like device bound means the Okta Verify is supposed to be installed in your mobile devices. Through that device, you are supposed to be connect to your tenant. After that thing, you are signing on in a particularly application. It will require a push notification or either a code. So that's why it is to be device bound. The next thing it is supposed to be like it is position and knowledge base or either the biometric. Biometric, why it is biometric? It will looking for your fingerprints like Okta Verify. So any type of fingerprints, any type of your other things like scan face or such kind of things, it is to be there in the Okta Verify authenticator. Okay, so there we are right now. I am having like three authenticators: email, Okta Verify, and the password. So that's why their status is active. Okay, so what if I don't want to anything authenticator, I can delete that to the action time. Okay, so this is the setup part. If we wanted to add one more authenticator, we can add to that way. So these all are the authenticator. Geo security, email is already added. Fido, Google Authenticator, IDP Authenticator, Okta Verify already installed. Okay. Now we wanted to make a phone, either the SMS or the voice message. We get a code and we are supposed to enter after our credentials. So we can add this thing. On-prem MFA. So these all are the authenticator. So then again, it's according to the user requirement. sorry, according to the client requirement, what he's supposed to make the authenticator, which authenticator he required. So we can add those authenticator from that area. Now I added the security question. Okay, if I forget my username, password, such kind of things. So whatever the security questions it is supposed to be there and answer, I already mark it down. So it will recheck my answers on the security question side. Then he is supposed to let me in inside the Okta premises. So that is for basically for the recovery. Okay, it is only the type, what type of authenticator type. Okay, so there are lots of authenticator according to your feasibility or according to your work. You can add those also. Now the enrollment part, how we can enroll in the authenticator. Authenticator enrollment policy is evaluated alongside the password policy. Password policy means like user may be required to enroll in the email or either the security question. Additionally, user may be given an option to enroll either in the phone or the Okta Verify. If they were selected an optional or disable in the enrollment policy because of password policy configuration. Okay. So you can see all are the policies under the enrollment. How we are supposed to enroll under the particularly authenticator or how authenticator are supposed to be enrolled. What type of condition, what type of basis the enrollment is supposed to be happen for the authenticator. So it is a default policy. It is a default policy given by the Okta itself. Okay. Like what is saying the default policy? It is saying the default policy applies in all situations if no other policy applies. If no policies applies, so this policy will work and it will apply to the everyone group. What type of authenticator is supposed to be required in this policy? It will require the password or either it requires the optional the Okta verify. Okay, and disabling the email and the security question. Okay, now there is a question over came across over here. If a client having multiple authenticator, if a client having multiple authenticator for their user, he wanted that Okta Verify always comes in a first authenticator size or the first authentication side of the particularly user is Okta Verify will work. Okay, and rest of the things, rest of the authenticator like password, like security question, like email notification, whatever the things authenticator, it will work the secondary basis. So how we can do this thing? We can do this activity by making our Okta Verify the required site and rest of the authenticator in the optionals. So whenever the user is trying to access in the Okta or he wanted to access his profile in the Okta or he wanted to log in the Okta, so he is not supposed to be entering or populating any type of to enter his password, such kind of thing. Directly it will reflect that to verify yourself from the Okta Verify Authenticator. Okay, so how could we do this thing to make it changes? So we can edit that part. Okay, and for that area, we make it Okta Verify as a required part, and rest of the things we required as an optional. Okay, right now these are disabled, and we make it either disable or the optional. So this is how we can change the scenario. We can change the priority of our authenticators. Okay. This is the one of the question which is supposed to be asked by the interviewer. Like if you are having the multiple authenticator, how can you make this email or password or either the Okta Verify as a priority? How you can change the priority of your authenticator? Okay. So you can tell them like I'll suppose to make the Okta Verify in the required list and rest of the authenticator in the optional. So the Okta verify priority comes first. Everything. So through that way, we can update our policy. Okay, password authenticator or default MFA enrollment must be required. Okay. They saying it is must be required. It is not supposed to be authenticated. Actually, this is a default password, default thing, so that's why I can't do any changes. If I'm going to suppose to create my own, I'll do.
So I have a
Yeah,
question, Karen.
yes,
I,
yes.
I I noticed that you've been working on this place, this Okta place since. What about the server that we downloaded before? Is that something that will still be going in as Okta admin, or most of our work will be here, this place?
No, no, no. The server we already installed. It is just we created for external user. Like as I told you, like I required some of the users. Okay, some of the
Okay, so
users,
the
some of the.
server was just for us to create users and then link it to this one. Then once we
Yes, yes,
link it
yes,
to this, then we'll
yes.
just, so everything else that we'll be doing will be here on this place.
Here only in the Okta. Like whether you are
Okay.
supposed to be working in your any of the organization, so you are supposed
Okay.
to understand. You are supposed to be understand that where our users are originally or stored, in which location they are supposed to be there, and where
Okay.
our
So that,
users, where from our users are coming from, either from any of the on-prem directories, either they are coming from the cloud environment, or any from the application side. So you
okay.
should
So
know
that
about
means
that.
for us, our users were coming from that server, and once we create these users there and we link it to this Okta, we don't go back there again except if we need to create um, another group or users, right?
Yes, yes. If you wanted some other user are supposed to require some other user, so you can take those user and create those user on that Active Directory, and sync or provision those users in the Okta. Okay.
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
So this is how we are supposed to make it this authenticator, and like to change their priority of our authenticator. Okay. So this is the enrollment part. We can do that enrollment part, or we can create our own policies. Like after clicking that thing, we can create our policy of any of the authenticator. So like test policy. This is a test policy I'm creating. Okay. So assigning group, I have only the one group. If I am having some multiple groups, I can apply this policy to the other groups. Like if I am having a IT group, okay, I wanted only that the users which are in the IT groups. So this policy, this authenticator policy is applied only to the IT group. So that will affect only that the IT group user, not the other group user. So right now I am holding that the everyone. So I am making that thing required for the rest of the. Okay. Now there is something which just comes across the rule part. Once we are creating the policy, a rule is supposed to be we need to create. Okay. On that the particularly policy. So test rule. So rule is basically created for this thing. Like if I'm creating one policy, okay, is this policy is applied to the everyone groups, and this is having such kind of things which is helpful for that particularly group. Now, how this policy is supposed to be rule out, how this policy is supposed to be ruling. Okay, so we can create a rule for make it happen. Okay, so in the add rule section, we are creating a test rule. and we are excluding such of the users like Henry. We have this. Okay, I have one user Henry. I am excluding this user from this rule. Okay, from this policy. Okay, I'm excluding the user Mark Henry. If user IP is, if the user IP is in zone or not in zone, if the user IP is not in zone, like all zone IPs left, okay, not in zone, then the enrollment is deny enrollment for SSO. So he is not supposed to be make his ID authentic. Okay, now I'm creating a rule for this particularly user. Okay, so I created one policy. For this policy, I created one rule. Okay, what this rule it is supposed to be there? I have a policy for everyone group. In the everyone group, I have one user. His name is Mark Henry. Okay, his username is Mark Henry. Okay, so what the rule is saying, if this user is Mark Henry, it is supposed to be there, or he is not in a particularly zone of the IP addresses, like in the environment. He is not in the environment of office environment or something. He is not supposed to be authenticating or not able to make it the SSO in the Okta environment. So this rule is applied on the particularly user. So this is how we are supposed to make the policy and make a rule in the authenticator enrollment part. Okay. Hope you little bit understand on those area. If you having that kind of Okta tenant, you can do this activity not in this virtual machine. Outside the virtual machine, you can do that activity. It will work also. Okay. You can just gone through that area. If you are having such doubt on this till so far over here in three tab general help inside or authenticator, let me know in tomorrow session. Okay. And rest of the things I will teach you in the tomorrow session. Okay.
Okay, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.